Hey, I'm Si from Cotic, and this is our new Rocket e-bike, and I'm going to talk to you about the geometry and the handling. You'll probably find out if you go and look at the history of the project. We've been through a few iterations of the bike and the geometry, and we've learned a lot, and we've come up with something we feel is a really nice balance for what this kind of bike is going to be used for. Because on the one hand, there's definitely a use case where people will simply use the fact that it's powered to do great big long rides in the hills. But because it's a full power bike, there is also the winch and plummet element to it of just going to your local riding spot, maybe up at Win Hill for us in the Peak District, or up to the Golfy, or wherever it is that you go, and just smashing laps. And for that, there's going to be a more enduro style build, and that will involve 160 forks. The trail build, sort of more old mountain build, you can run with 150 forks. So with a 150 fork, it's got a 64.5 degree head angle. With a 160 fork, it's 64. So it's not super steep. It's definitely on the slacker end. It's a development of the really well thought of Cotic long shot geometry. We were one of the first brands to push reaches out there and go for our 35mm stem handling back in 2017. This is a combination of everything we've learned from our other bikes, plus everything we've learned from building all of these prototype e-bikes. So it's got quite tall stack, which means you stand up very tall on the bike going downhill, but that means you've got loads of room to angle it. You've got lots of amplitude in your arms and in your chest. You're very central on the bike, so you can weight it. This bike has got some of the best balance between the wheels of any bike we've ever built. It's got quite a long back end to balance out the front center, and it just has this feeling of moving around your hips. It's really lovely. It's got proportional geometry, so the C1 and C2 smallest sizes have a slightly slacker seat angle and a slightly shorter chainstay compared to the larger sizes. So that just keeps you poised in the middle of the bike and away from the rear wheel when you're climbing. We don't go super steep on our seat angles because we do want to be able to sit off our wrists on longer rides. The flip side of having a full power e-bike is you can ride up some really stupid stuff, and it's really, really fun, so you don't want to be tipping off the back. So the combination of quite long rear end and sort of medium steep seat angle keeps you in quite a nice neutral position on the bike, even when the going gets steep and the power's really kicking in. One thing we learned quite early on in the project was that we wanted the e-bike to be dedicated mixed wheel size. This is a mullet bike. You cannot put a 29-inch rear wheel in this bike. And the reason for that is purely handling. The original e-bikes that we built were full 29er. There was a bit of a reluctance for them to turn into the corners, and we realized that's because you've got this enormous battery, and on those bikes with a big internal battery system, you've got like 4 or 5 kilos of structure out in front of your bottom bracket that you're trying to get yanked into a turn. We modified those bikes to use a smaller rear wheel, and suddenly that weight of the drive system and the down tube and the battery suddenly was working with you, because that enthusiastic turn-in that you get from having the mismatched wheel size is just amplified by the power system. So suddenly the bikes are whipping into corners, and then the weight of the bike makes you feel planted through the end. So it just makes the bike feel so strong in the corners. It's a great feeling, and that's the reason why we've gone for the mixed wheel size. All of the bikes are running with 160mm cranks. The power of the motors just means you just don't have any issues with running short cranks. So that meant we could drop the motor down, drop the BB down, and still get all of the power we need for the climb. So yeah, that is all the handling of the Cotic e-bike.